What if I told you life was built to break? What if I warned you you can't outrun your fate? Would you believe with time comes grace in perfect light, in perfect place?
It's a very interesting question. I think I could get into a very philosophically challenging rabbit hole and go down it, but rather than do that, I would just say that the fate for the band so far has been very rewarding and very fulfilling. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I could get really far down a rabbit hole. I think the whole argument or debate of free will versus fate or determinism is something that I probably think about more than any other philosophical topic. It keeps me up at night, like literally. And but I find it really fascinating because I think at the end of the day, I personally believe that everything is determined in the sense that it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. But I think when people hear that, they think that that automatically then means that you don't have any control in life. But I don't think that that's what it means exactly. I just think that it's really an argument about time, like looking into the future or looking into the past versus actually experiencing reality from moment to moment. I think you do have control. You're just going to choose what you are going to choose. But you do what you're always going to do. I'm a compatibilist, technically. But I guess to answer your question, really, I do think that we have control in whatever sense of that word you want it to mean over our responses. And I don't think that we have control over what happens outside of that. And so the way we respond to the things that happen to us actually affect the way our life plays out later and the way people treat us and the way things do happen to us. So it's more of a long-term control more than it is pressing a button and everything around you changing. But I almost don't like to get into that topic because I need like hours to really define the terms that I'm using, and you know what I mean? It can get really complicated actually, but that's a really great question. I can't say for sure if I would have walked away on the referring to it as a make or break record. I don't know. We might have. I don't think I would ever walk away if I felt like I hadn't done everything within my power and control to do. But at the same time, I also have a coexisting belief that the only failure is quitting. So I believe that there's always something else you could be doing because there's always room to grow. So it's kind of this hand in hand, almost contradictory beliefs, but that have led us to continually put out a record after record when the last one didn't work, and we weren't quite there yet. And so I think Daniel, the bass player, and myself both kind of had a timeline in our mind that continually evolves. When I was younger, I thought we would have been where we're at now, 8 years ago. And we continually gave ourselves a longer timeline because we believed in what we were doing. If we weren't progressing, I don't think that we would have done that. I would have said this is a dead end, but I saw us growing. So I'm not the universe and everything and all knowing, so I can't say what our timeline is, but I could say, are we growing or are we not? And I think that's really the question you have to ask yourself, not so much a time. Is it moving forward or is it dying? And so for us, it was growing. And so if we'd put out a record and we were happy and I thought it was only getting better, then I think I would have stayed. But if that was it and it was getting worse after that, then probably wouldn't. Definitely. I hit actually a pretty big turning point on the inside a few months ago, actually, where I've hit a few major milestones in my own personal healing with different aspects of my life. But a few months ago I turned a corner, and a lot of times, you think you turn a corner because you have a feeling, and you give it a week or a month and that feeling's gone as quick as it came. And I've kind of learned that in life, what really determines if you have a real change on the inside is not the feeling, it's just watching your actions, almost taking account of how you've been acting or how you've been feeling over the long haul, over the last few months or whatever. And I've noticed something shift for me. And so I think it's this being forced to be on the road and be away from people that I love, and also grappling with the uncertainty of whether what we're doing is going to work or not. All those things together have forced me to heal with an open heart, in that sense of moving forward, even though it's still as uncertain as the uncertain things that seem to have hurt you in the past. You're asking some great questions. They're making me think, though, so you got to give me a second. I think I'm no different than anyone else in that there's definitely aspects of myself that I wish were built differently, but I think everybody feels that way. I think I've rebuilt or been rebuilding a lot of childish ideas that I've had in the past about what people are, and I don't know how to communicate properly and really get things across to people. Like if you love someone, for example, a lot of times you just think if you have a thought or a feeling, it's like it translates through the ether or the air. But in reality, like, people don't get what's going on the inside of you unless you translate it into their language. And their language may be actions, their language may be gifts, their language may be words, And I think within all those ways that people operate, they even then have an even more unique version of that. And I think you have to figure out how people work and then make sure the message gets across, and that, I think, feeds a garden that you're creating in your life, which is a bunch of people and a support system, really. And so I've been learning a lot about that, because I'm not the most, I may come across as a very personable person at times, because I do enjoy a good conversation, but in a lot of ways, I prefer to be alone working on something on my computer than interacting with people, to be honest. So I've learned the value of people, and I've also, I don't know, that's a tough question. There's a lot to that. Yeah, I think one of the most shocking versions of that in my life was when my mom passed away, and in the same month I had a breakup with a girl of 5.5 years. In that context of that time, there was also a lot of other things going on in my life that were not very good, but those were the two central things that really were messing with me. In that time period, I couldn't listen to certain songs. I couldn't listen to, I almost went a month without listening to any music at all, because I have always felt very affected by music when I listen to it, just in whatever direction it's going to move you. And at that time, I think my feelings were so heightened and sensitive and supercharged with all the emotions of the situation going on that music was just too much. It was so I thought that was a pretty weird time, because I'd never had that happen in my life. Music had always been a redeeming quality, something that made me feel when I couldn't feel, and I needed it to feel human again, or emotions again, or it made the emotions I had, more balanced, or gave them purpose. And at this time, it was just like being drunk and someone pouring another bottle of liquor down your throat, and the room's already spinning, So I thought that was an interesting moment. I think some days I spend a good amount of time looking, and the process of looking is kind of almost like my own personal meditation for the day, because it forces me to look through not only other quotes or writings of people. It kind of just gets me centered for the day, or allows me to find words to something I'm dealing with. And so I've always tried to make, which to answer your other question, I'm the one who does the quotes, but the guys and I all share a very similar outlook on life in a lot of ways. And so I try to find things that resonate with all of us and are not just a reflection of my personal idiosyncrasies per se, but even though they are personal, they deal with things that I'm dealing with day to day. They still reflect what the whole band believes and holds to. So I always fight to find a balance between the two, but I don't know, I love trying to make people think without making them feel like we're trying to polarize or push our point of view. We're just trying to push them challenging their own ideas. So no. I don't think there's anything you can do if somebody doesn't want help. I think that in moments of stress and pressure, that thought will pop into our minds almost inevitably, where the little voice in your head will start speaking out of fear and start telling you that, I don't know if this is going to be as good as the last record, or is this as good as that song, and I do think that will happen. But what I think now, and what I'll hold to as we go through the process, is that I'm excited to make a better record. It's not because we're afraid that it won't be as good as this one. It's that we get the opportunity to exercise our skills further. And I think at this point, we're only better songwriters. We're only better with production and with playing our instruments, and I'm a better singer than I was then. So I don't see any reason it won't be a better record. Life it is a little bit, life experiences like losing my mom or my sister those are pretty big experiences, and you can't really replace those. So there's never going to be another Jenny or another God Went North or I'll Be Okay. But I think there'll be something different. So our goal is not to compete with what we've already done. It's to touch on things that we haven't touched on yet. I actually just posted a quote today saying, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there. And someone told me that to me 2 nights ago when we were hanging out with some fans after the show. And this lady said that, and it stopped me for a second, because I'd been dealing with that lately, where sometimes, to quote one of our lyrics from This Is the Time, we always start with good intentions but lose ourselves along the way. That's the hardest thing, is always remembering and reconnecting with the child in you that had that pure goal before it got dirty and covered up and all the weight of the world started putting pressure on it. And so for us, when we were younger, our goal was to change people in the way that music changed us. We just wanted to reverse the process, because we had all been saved by music in more ways than one, and had been so dramatically altered by it that we almost couldn't do anything. We can't do anything else in life and be totally fulfilled. Like, I have to do music because it means that much to me. And so to do that for other people, that's kind of the overarching goal. The way in which we do that is always a question mark, and that may change throughout the years, but that's the general goal.